One night Farmer Brown was taking the air, locked up the barnyard with greatest of care. Down in the hen house something stirred when he hollered, "Who there?" This is word he heard. Ain't nobody here but us chicken.
Welcome to another edition of the Rubberband Doorknob. Episode 4, Better Backyard Barbecue. It's the heat of the summer and the last thing I want to do is cook indoors. As you can hear behind me, the AC is working hard, so the call is to go outside and light the grill. When we think backyard barbecue, the first thing that comes to mind is lighting charcoal, throwing down some burgers and some hot dogs. And to my friends up north, beer brats. I want to really clarify that there is a big difference between true barbecue, the slow and low kind, and what we do at home on those fancy propane units. Cooking directly over flames is grilling. Slow and low is offset and smoke. The recipes I will be showing you today are great examples for cooking on a big grill over open flame. I will also show you how to handle a whole chicken if you are lucky enough to have a rotisserie unit. I personally don't own a propane grill, and all of my outdoor cooking is done on what is called live fuel, either charcoal or wood. What I'm going to show you today is a few simple marinating techniques that will help you quickly add flavor in a short amount of time. This will reduce the amount of time you spend in the kitchen and more time outside. I'm going to demonstrate these techniques using the big three proteins. I'll be using some salmon, whole chicken, and steak. I also have some herbs that I grew in my garden that I want to use in all the recipes today. So why not stay at home, light the grill, and do some grilling?
Before I start, I want to talk about the one ingredient common in all of these recipes, salt. Let's look at the options. I personally use flaked kosher salt as the go-to choice in my kitchen. Then I use both fine sea salt as well as coarse sea salt like Malden for finishing dishes. Finally, uniformed grain popcorn or iodized salt for fried items. It dissolves quickly when seasoning food right out of the fryer. Then there are other commercial salts such as seasoned salt, adobo, or even colored ones that are generally loaded with MSG.
Ain't nobody here at all, so calm yourself and stop that fuss. It ain't nobody here but us. We chickens trying to sleep, and you bust in.
For our first recipe, we're going to tackle the best choice for a steak, making a dry rub. For the house adobo, we start with kosher salt and paprika as the base. We add floral notes with Mexican oregano. Then the remaining ingredients: onion powder, white pepper, garlic powder, cumin, guajillo chili powder, and turmeric. For all of my dry rubs, I use the following technique. We start by blending all the ingredients in a bowl. To ensure that there is an even distribution of the flavors, I quickly process them in a blender. Finally, I sift them through a strainer and process any larger pieces in a spice grinder. Here it is why we call it a dry rub. I evenly coat the steak with the spice and aggressively rub it into the meat and allow it to rest about 30 minutes before grilling. Now for a wet rub recipe. I found this nice piece of skin-on salmon at the market and chose it because it's readily available and works really well on the grill. Here I am breaking down this piece into 4 nice portions and removing the skin and bloodline before building the wet rub. I like to get the butchering done early in the day and have it ready to go whenever we are ready to eat. The inspiration for this wet rub, fresh herbs that I picked from my garden this morning. I'm going to use Dijon mustard to help the herbs adhere to the fish. Then I'm going to add some aromatics in the form of garlic, lemon zest, and fruity olive oil. Wet rubs are easy to make. Here I start by picking the leaves off the herb stems and begin to rough chop them. About halfway through, I add the crushed garlic and then the chives to keep their appearance and texture. I then blend the herbs with the mustard, black pepper, fresh lemon zest, and olive oil to the desired consistency of a paste. Note, I'm not adding salt at this point, which is important for wet rubs. We are trying to add flavor, not change texture or deeply penetrate the muscles with the wet rub. Like I did with the steak, I want to rub the paste onto the salmon and let it marinate for up to 2 hours before we grill them. Other meats can go longer.
This episode's blueprint technique is trussing a chicken. This is a fundamental skill that I learned a long time ago and something I do every time I roast a chicken. So I'm going to show you how to do it. Look for a chicken that still has all of the key parts still intact, such as the wingtips and the feather bone, or sometimes called the Pope's hat. Start by flipping the wingtips under the breast and then rotate the cavity towards you. Open up the legs and find the feather bone. Make yourself a shoulder's length of butcher's twine, and tie a double knot over and around the Pope's hat. Bring the ends of the twine up, catching the ends of the legs and creating a cross with the twine. Make sure the twine is pushed down between the legs and the breast. This will help with final presentation. Flip the bird over, bringing up the ends and catching the tucked-in wings on both sides. Pull it tight, and if there is a little nub of the neck bone, use it to tie off the twine in the double knot. As you see, it's pretty easy to truss a chicken. I truss this chicken for a rotisserie application. I take the bird, I bury it in the wet marinade or brine, put it in a rotisserie spit, voila. I don't have one, so I'm going to show you another little butchering technique to take the chicken, put it in the marinade, throw it on a flat grill, and get pretty much the same effect. This technique works for anything, whether it's a dry rub, wet rub, or deep brine.
We chickens try to sleep, but in harbor, 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 it's a sin. Tomorrow is a busy day. We got things to do, we got eggs to lay, we got ground to dig, worms to scratch. It takes a lot of setting to getting chicks to hatch.
An easy everyday butchering method for grilling whole chickens is to remove the backbone and crack the breast. Stand the bird up and cut down either side of the bird using the Pope's hat and neck bone as the guidelines. Crack the breastbone and open up the chicken. The base of this brine or wet marinade is lots of fresh citrus and fresh oregano that I grew. I'm going to use some kitchen gadgets to speed up the process. Start off by juicing an assortment of fresh citrus. Chop some garlic in the food processor. Chop the fresh oregano. Save the stems, they make great little appetizer skewers. Toast and grind some cumin seeds. This is a common technique I use and it really makes an impact on flavor and aromas. I like to keep it a little coarse. To make the mojo itself, heat some salad oil in a pan, add 2/3 of the chopped garlic and bring to a simmer. Add a couple of bay leaves, add the toasted cumin seeds, some black pepper, and then 2/3 of the citrus juice and bring to a rolling simmer. Remove to a bowl, add the remaining garlic, juice, and chopped oregano and mix well. You can really see all the flavor at this point. Take this off to the cooler and get it completely cold. I put the chicken in a pan and take a tip of a knife and puncture the skin and meat around the bones and thicker parts. I add the marinade and then I brine to allow to marinate for 4 to 6 hours. So here's a recap. I have an adobo dry rubbed steak with roasted potatoes, topped with chipotle lime compound butter. Next we have lemon herb grilled salmon, topped with spiced onions and fresh lime. Finally, mojo marinated rotisserie style chicken, finished with the marinade that has been boiled down as a sauce. Grilling outdoors should be relaxing and not so stressful if everything is done ahead of time. I don't really like drinking beer out of a bottle, but I will make one exception. I love drinking Spotted Cow from New Glarus, Wisconsin from the bottle. One of my favorite things to do is to open up my house and cook for family and friends. These meals are casual, but we have one goal: good food, sit around together as a family in the moment. Being a chef does come with some challenges, especially when you cook at someone else's home. They expect you to cook. I've cooked somewhere around the globe on some kind of flame, whether paella in an outdoor fireplace, hibachi in an apartment, or even cooking a whole hog in my backyard because I can. I take a lot of pride knowing whatever the kitchen or backyard grill that I have, there'll be plenty of good meals to be had. It's been personally challenging for me over the last few months, as my family, those who I call family, are spread out from Florida, California, North Carolina, and the countryside of England. Being distant hasn't stopped me from cooking meals on my grill, even though the table isn't as full as it usually is. So start working on those marinades and rubs, light some coals, and grab a long neck. Grill like there's a family to feed. If you can't enjoy it with yours until this is over, make a new family with those neighbors who you only see over the fence. So until next time, cheers.